Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to share with you all 5 takeaways from the movie One Night in Miami. It was directed and produced by Regina King and written by Kemp Powers. And I believe One Night in Miami was a play. So I want to share with you all 5 takeaways from the film that I think are important. But first, I want to mention this. I did not want to see One Night in Miami. I was like, here we go again, another movie about race, another movie about historical figures. I grew up in the 90s. I grew up in a time where I remember movies that were black movies or that had a black majority cast were comedies, dramas, suspense. We had sitcoms even, television shows that weren't just solely based on race. So I do wish we could get back to having more different types of films and TV shows being created, but yet and still I watched this movie because Regina King produced it and she directed it. I think this movie definitely deserves Oscar nominations, all of the awards. So, number 1, these 4 men were community minded and they had heart. And I think nowadays I'm seeing a lack of community mindedness, and I wish that both men and women had more of a community mindset, because in order for us to thrive, in order for us to be strong, and in order for us to contribute to society, we need to have a community that has quality schools, that has quality grocery stores and food sources and activity centers. Just, we need more vibrancy in our communities. And these 4 men were community minded. They were athletes, entertainers, activists. Even though they reached success, even though they were famous, they never forgot where they came from, and they had the mindset that community was important. It's not enough for one individual to have it all. You want to see not only yourself thrive, but you want to see your people thrive as well. I think in order to honor their legacy, we have to become more community minded. So that was number 1, my number 1 takeaway. Number 2 is I believe that this movie is black male empowerment. This is a movie that is empowering to all people, especially to black people, but I think even more so to black men. And you know, black female empowerment is something that is commonplace nowadays. I think there also needs to be just as much attention on black men, on young black boys, on black male teenagers, because black men need mentorship. Black men need guidance. Yes, they are men, but I think that black men have a unique experience being men, just like black women have a unique experience being women. I think it's important that black men receive empowerment and empowering messages as well, and I think that this movie is definitely empowering to black men. And this movie showcased black men holding each other accountable, black men challenging each other. I definitely feel like this is a movie that black men will be inspired by. So that's my number 2 takeaway. Number 3 is celebrities and activism, and how this movie showcased how, like, even in the past, they still had this issue of being a celebrity but also speaking for your community or using your platform to affect change. And I think in the 60s, in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s even, black celebrities, they were not as far removed from the black community as they are now. I believe now it's kind of commonplace for a black celebrity to not live amongst other black people. And in the past, like mentioned in the movie, Sam Cooke mentioned that Malcom X lived in Harlem. And Harlem was a bustling place. It still is now, but Harlem was a place where black people lived and thrived. Black poor people, black middle class people, black upper class people. Black people were, and even just in other communities, in other cities, Chicago, Detroit, African Americans were regulated to certain areas. And so black people lived amongst each other. The dentist was living down the street from the janitor. So the black community was thriving because black people lived amongst each other, and black celebrities and black famous people and black people with money, they were fighting for the cause because they were affected by the problems more directly than I feel like they are now. Black people with money can escape all of this. They can be isolated. Black celebrities now are more removed. They're in gated communities. They live in sometimes all white communities. So they don't see, they saw and when they were living in it, but when they moved out of it, they don't have to see it every day. I do feel like nowadays, black celebrities, they can sometimes do more harm than good. They sometimes have resentment towards their community. And Sam Cooke expressed some of that resentment that he had. So it's not that the famous people weren't struggling with that in the past, but I think nowadays it's even more heightened because they are so far removed. Once they get out, once they make it out, they're trying to escape. They are not trying to be as much of leaders anymore as they were in the past. So my opinion is, I don't personally need a black celebrity to speak for me. Black celebrities, it's a lot of pressure on them to speak up and use their platforms. Is it nice? Yes, but is it a requirement for me? No. But there are some black celebrities that do truly use their platforms for change and are activists, and I appreciate them. Nowadays it's just a different time. They are more far removed from the communities that they are expected to represent. So my number 4 takeaway is that this movie has some amazing quotes, and the first quote is by Sam Cooke. It's, "Everybody talks about they wanting a piece of the pie. Well, I don't. I want the goddamn recipe." So that resonated with me because it's not enough to just get a seat at the table. You want to know how to build and grow and recreate, and you want to build the table so that you can say, I built this table and I can put whoever I want at this table with me. That's more so what my mindset is on right now. Yes, representation matters. Yes, seeing people get put into these heightened positions is important, but I'm here to, I want us to create. I want us to create our own spaces. Sam Cooke is a songwriter, and when you're a songwriter, you have so much more power than when you are just up there singing someone else's song, because you get royalties and have your hand in so many different pots when you have the recipe. And so the next quote I want to mention is, when Muhammad Ali and Sam Cooke were together in the car, power just means a world where we are safe to be ourselves, to look like we want, to think like we want, without having to answer to anybody for it. And that resonated with me as well. Black people just simply want power over ourselves. I think a lot of black people feel very much controlled, and everybody's trying to tell us how we should look and how we should speak and how we should act, and a lot of times we don't really even know who we are, because since we've been in this country, there's been other people trying to tell us who to be and how to act and how to think. And power, and truly having power, is having freedom over yourself. Power to look like we want, like wear our hair in its natural state and be accepted anywhere for it. Power to like what we want. Like the things that we like, we're being told are not quality, or the way we speak is not proper. Having that on you all the time is stressful. We have to change ourselves to adapt and fit in, and to code switch and all of that. I try to just be myself and to look like myself and to think for myself without having this pressure on me to be what I think other people want me to be. And so I think that's something everybody honestly has to deal with, whether you're black, white, whatever. I'm only black, so I can only speak for myself. And the fifth takeaway from this movie is Malcom X. Malcom X was the star of this movie, I think because he was so dedicated to the struggle, to the cause, and because he was so passionate there is a lot of emphasis on him and his life in this movie. Also, he was assassinated along with Sam Cooke. He was murdered, not assassinated. But Malcolm X, he was a passionate man. He put his life on the line for his people. He's immortalized. He has a legacy that will live on and forever. This year marked 56 years of his passing. Malcolm X put his life on the line. He went through so much. His family went through so much. His life was so impactful. I believe he died at 38 or 39. I'm not exactly sure. And I watched the actor who played him speak about how he was a gentleman, and we see a lot of videos and footage of him being militant and saying things that are kind of aggressive, and so people might not associate him with being gentle and being a kind and caring man. But this movie definitely portrayed him in that way, that he was kind, caring, he was a spiritual man, he was a mentor. This movie really showcased how passionate he was about encouraging others to use their platforms for change and challenging his friends, and how he enjoyed photography and like how he was also someone who liked to have fun. So this movie showed Malcolm X being a human being, being someone who has different sides to him. He was a young man. He was so wise, and that's how I want to end this video. All these four men were wise. Sam Cooke, Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X were wise men. The acting was amazing. Every last one of these actors did a great job at portraying these historical men. I encourage everyone to go to watch it if you have Amazon Prime. And I watched an interview from Regina King, and she said that the dialogue is the star of this show. So when you watch this movie, do not multitask. Don't look at your phone and try to keep up with what's happening on the television, because the dialogue is important. You have to pay attention to what's being said to understand what's happening. And for me, what I did was I watched the movie on my phone. So I didn't have any way to distract myself or to take away from me watching the movie, because I was using my phone to watch it. So, but the dialogue is the star of the show. It's not really the visuals, it's the words coming out of their mouths. So pay attention to the dialogue and just listen to all the gems that these men are dropping. So I give this movie a 10 out of 10. Like it's really that good, and I encourage everyone to watch it. And that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know if you saw this movie, what you think of it, and comment, like, and subscribe. And thank you all for watching. Bye.